This is our final lesson in our week one instruction, and today we're going to be comparing Paleolithic and Neolithic life. In this lesson, you will create a spice chart to compare the lives of the Paleolithic and the Neolithic civilizations. Our goal is to identify key components of the Paleolithic and the Neolithic civilization, and then to identify the key differences between those two civilizations. The first thing that you'll do is download the spice chart for the Paleolithic and the Neolithic civilizations. There are two separate charts, so please be sure that you are putting the correct information in the appropriate chart as you read. In step 2, you'll use the link to access the text, World History, Cultures, States, and Societies. You will be focusing on section 1.6 in the book, and those book pages are 12 through 19. You will use this section and the pages to complete the spice chart. And after completing the spice chart, make sure that you save the spice charts to World History, your week 1 folder. You should title your file Paleolithic, Neolithic Spice Charts. After you finish your spice charts, you will review those charts and consider the importance of the Neolithic and agricultural revolution. In the assignment module, you will be writing an essay about how your life would be different without the advent of the Neolithic and the agricultural revolution. At this point, I'd like to explain the spice charts. SPICE is an acronym, and we will be using these to compare civilizations throughout the course of our study in world history. And SPICE, like I said, is an acronym, and the thing that we're looking for here is your ability to understand social structures. That's the S, and we'll be looking at gender roles, relationships, family and kinship, racial and ethnic constructions, social and economic classes, and inequalities and lifestyle. So as you're reading, you'll be wanting to consider those aspects. When we go to the political part, we will see that we're looking at state building. In other words, how people organized over time their the political aspects of their lives. How are they governed? How do they build a civilization? What are the political structures? Is there a king? Is there a president? Is there a prime minister? What is that form of governance? Is it a monarchy? Is it egalitarian? And nations and nationalism. We'll look at revolts, wars, and revolutions, treaties, regions, trans-regional structures, and organizations. For the I, we're looking at interactions between humans and their environments. How do they interact with their environment? Are there specific areas where they tend to settle, as in rather than in other areas? How about the demography? In other words, where the most of the population settles. What about disease? What's the migration patterns? How do they move? And what is the impact of technology on the lives of those people? Next, we'll be looking at culture. We look at the development and the interaction of cultures. In other words, we're looking at holy books, beliefs, deities. We're looking at death rituals. How about philosophies and ideologies? How they use technology and and science, art, literature, and architecture. What are their values and morals and education? How do they educate their people? Do they formally educate them? Then in the E, we look for the economic systems, and we're looking at the creation, expansion, and interaction of economic systems. In other words, what do people do for a living? Do most of the people farm? Are they more pastoral? In other words, do they travel from place to place looking for grazing lands for their animals? Do they engage in trade or commerce? Do they have a monetary system? Do they have what types of businesses, and then later on we'll look at capitalism and socialism. If you notice, there are two separate charts. The second chart is for the Neolithic societies. When you're finished with your spice charts and your reading, then you will review those and you will move to the assignment module. And in the assignment module, there is a writing prompt, and it will ask you about how your life would be different without the advent of the Neolithic revolution. If you have questions or you need help, I would remind you to use the open forum. I would remind you to make sure that you are saving all of your work to your Week 1 World History file, making sure that you are titling it appropriately for saving.